The full moon in Libra is coming on the 12th of April, and I'm here to give you some quick tips on how to restore the balance during it, especially after such an intense eclipse and retrograde season. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Hannah and welcome back, Cosmic Warriors. Before we dive into today's video, if you want to learn more about astrology, then head on over to the Cosmic Check-In podcast. And if you would like to book a reading with me, then go to hannahselsewhere.com. I hope you enjoy the video. Let's do this. Okay, so first things first. The full moon in Libra will occur at 23 degrees. An Aquarius degree, there appears to be something quite freeing and liberating about this full moon. Perhaps after quite a profound and readjusting period during both an eclipse and a retrograde season, many of us seek to shake a few things off. We possess a desire and a passion within our hearts to feel more balanced and harmonized. And we just might think in outside of the box ways to make such an intention happen. The full moon also occurs within the Mercury decan, suggesting greater thought and reason. We are filled with questions, very curious, many ideas and many connections to draw from here. And with Mercury being direct in the sign of Pisces after being retrograde throughout Aries season, there are a few loose ends that we're still trying to tie up, of course. But one thing is for sure, the decisions have been made and we seek to move forward with them. We have reached a few conclusions which we still wish to add some more tweaks to. Some slight adjustments. And with the sun being in the Jupiter decan, we feel confident about our choices, about our decisions, pretty sure of ourselves perhaps, ready and willing to take the lead based on the knowledge we have gained. On the other hand, what do we also see? Chiron being the same degree as the full moon and the sun, meaning Chiron is a big part of this story. Therefore, there appears to be something we are healing, something we're still trying to recover from. This could be a wound, a scar, a pain that we're still trying to make sense of, or a rejection, fears of abandonment, self-doubts that get in the way of us succeeding. And we also notice that the asteroid Chariklo is in Aquarius, connecting with the full moon, connecting with the sun and Chiron. As Chiron's wife, Chariklo in the chart points to our healing as well, you see. We're thinking here about protection, patience, understanding. There is a gentleness, a softness, a kindness to Chariklo. Therefore, this full moon invites us to be loving towards ourselves and to be patient about our journey. This is about trusting in our guidance, in our instincts, being clear about our understanding, about our uniqueness. And I would, of course, like to give a shout out to my astrology group here in Belfast for opening my eyes to Chariklo. Indeed, the full moon in Libra is highly introspective and healing. We are invited to see things in a much more holistic way, to offer aid and support to those we care about, to embrace our gifts of intuition and harmony, for we know of the pain we have suffered, to guide from a place of knowing our own wounds. In this way, this is about releasing the impulse to be a bully to ourselves. Do not indulge in self-destructive, self-sabotaging behaviors, to see how we have changed and grown. Let it go, says the full moon in Libra. You do not have to continue with the repetitive cycle of people pleasing, pandering, enabling, putting other people's needs before your own, who do not deserve it, right? To your own detriment here. You are worth more than that. Oh yes, this is a full moon of truth. Weighing out the pros and cons and then using our skills of judgment to help us gain greater clarity. And how fascinating to see the very ruler of the full moon, well, Venus, will turn direct in Pisces less than an hour later. Allow for the spiritual insights and messages to come through. Listen closely to your heart and your intuition. Trust that the answers you need are located within. Be a powerful source of self-compassion and self-forgiveness. Something is being released, shed, surrendered to. Something about your past, about a situation you have outgrown. We've talked about this on the channel. To clean, to purify, to dissolve, flush whatever the toxins are out of your system. Believe in the impossible and embrace the unknown. And come to think of it, with Venus being about beauty, Venus in Pisces can manifest as wearing gemstones. And I have the perfect company to share with you. Otter Spirit. Otter Spirit specializes in gemstones, and I'm happy to tell you about their zodiac collection. They sent me the Aries Strength bracelet mini pack, which I think is perfect for Aries season. There is the citrine, the tiger eye, the sunstone. And what I really love about these bracelets is that they each come with an affirmation, like this one, I am a warrior. I mean, how perfect is that for Aries season? Yes, they have mini descriptions on each card explaining intentions, zodiac signs, and chakras even, yes. And they look super cute on. Each bead is carefully hand-picked and it tells its own story. And most amazingly, Otter Spirit donates $1 from each bracelet to protect sea otters. And what I really appreciate about Otter Spirit is that they are a small family-owned brand that cares. To check out their beautiful collection, go to the link below and make sure to use code Zodiac20 to receive 20% off your order. And I want to say thank you so much to Otter Spirit for your wonderful gift. Now, the full moon in Libra is a pretty beneficial time to restore some healthy balance in your life, particularly after quite an intense time lately. Growing pains, major identity shifts, seeing who and what no longer aligns with you, being honest with yourself about what isn't working, having to face the truth, the reality of certain relationships. I see many people walking away from abusive people, from one-sided relationships, and to think also this full moon in Libra is coming along after eclipses occurring on the Aries Libra axis over the past couple of years, suggesting a time of restoration, of repositioning ourselves so that we feel more at peace, more at ease, more secure within ourselves. Naturally, when we can direct our attention within, we see the massive impacts that can occur outwardly as well. Seeing that by going within, we can adjust our outer world. We can make beneficial changes within our relationships, within our job, within the many roles we play out there. Essentially, folks, this is a full moon of spiritual alignment, and we must be gentle and patient with ourselves to notice. I'll share something of my own story these past couple of weeks. So, with the retrogrades of both Mercury and Venus occurring, I have not been posting as much on Instagram. I haven't really been pushing as hard to create results, to get content out there. I have taken more time to rethink, to reconsider my style, my layout, what I want from my Instagram account, but also I've been playing video games. I got the remastered version of Tomb Raider. Big fan of Tomb Raider. Who else here is? So more of my time has been spent playing instead of working. And of course I have still continued with readings, but my output basically has been much less than what I normally create. To me, this has been great for creating healthier balance. I feel better for it, and I'm happy to use the retrogrades as an opportunity to adjust myself and to make significant changes within my business. So think for yourself, what have you done? How have things changed for you over the past couple of weeks? Energetically, how have you been feeling? Perhaps for you, you have been focusing greatly on your gut health, on your intuition, on your own personal healing journey, your mental health. Perhaps you've made yourself more of a priority this past while, knowing full well that you will be a better person for it, right? I know this has been the case for me. For others of you, maybe restoring balance looks like seeking greater harmony within your relationships or within your job, or when it comes to sports, fitness, your diet. Perhaps you have set healthier boundaries when it comes to your workload, your productivity levels, when it comes to schedules, routines. Maybe your sleeping patterns have changed quite a bit, or you've been experiencing more gratitude lately. Whatever it is, the full moon in Libra invites a release, clarity, insight, a realization, a transformation, an ability to let go and to be able to be okay with doing so, right? This is about self-acceptance. If you are enjoying this video so far, then please be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more if you have not already. And if you're interested in learning more about astrology, then you can always pick up a copy of my astrology cheat sheets. Thank you so much. The links are down below. Something else to remember though about the full moon is that it is linked to the solar eclipse in Libra so it took place back in September of 2023. Back then, we set intentions within our Libra house related to balance, harmony, justice, judgment, and our relationships. Then by July of 2024, the first quarter moon in Libra occurred whilst the sun was in Cancer, pointing to a challenging point. Of course, our emotional needs were really tested around that time. And so on the lead up to the full moon, we are presented with this opportunity to release, to reflect, to go through a kind of transformation, a time to reap rewards and to see how times have maybe changed since September of 2023. Perhaps around the full moon in Libra, you look back and you realize which kinds of relationships you have let go of, who you've walked away from, which experiences in your life just no longer feel supportive. This could be about money, it could be about beauty, your values, your self-worth, and so on. The truth will be revealed about your wounds and your aches and your pains. And this right here leads me on to Mars, because Mars is still in Cancer and will create a bit of a T-square with the sun and moon, indicating tension, pressure. Here's what I'm thinking. For the past couple of months, number of months, even from the end of 2024, many of us have been reconsidering our energy levels. Who we give our energy to, which people do we feel safe with, who do we feel supported by, themes of protecting our energy, and seeing when we give our emotional power away to others. Conserving our energy has been very much highlighted, and it was highlighted during the Mars retrograde. But see, as Mars comes to the end of its time in the sign of Cancer, we have about one more week or so, right? So when the full moon in Libra happens, there will be about another week to go. We will be invited then to remember our strength, our resilience, our protection. We refuse to repeat the same patterns and cycles. How we feel is valid, and so we refuse to be manipulated. Seeing when others project their emotional baggage onto us, no more. This is a part of how we restore the balance, to not let the clinging of others sway us from our direction, from our path, from our healing journey. You just might feel a type of pressure around the full moon or a release of tension, as if you're expected to maybe stay the same possibly, but then people try to pull you back in this familiar place, a space that feels more comfortable, but in actuality maybe it's unhealthy. Maybe it's just getting to that breaking point and you say, nope, cannot deal with that. And so it's not for you. So do not let fear rule your next step. Be the warrior you are, be brave. There are people and situations out there that keep us stuck, but there are also people out there and situations out there that help us grow. Keep growing, says the full moon in Libra. But also, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel hurt. That's normal. Feel through it. Keep moving forward. We want to also be mindful then of spiraling, dwelling in a dark place. Therefore, this is about having an I can do this attitude. Luckily for us, Jupiter will lightly sextile the sun and trine the full moon, meaning optimism, positivity, which can help us through perhaps, seeing the glass as half full, encouraging ourselves and others, looking on the bright side of things, learning from our experiences rather than sinking into this pit of disparity and suffering. And with Pisces placements creating trines with Mars, themes of support and comfort are highlighted strongly. Possessing a kinder voice, a soothing voice, a calming way of speaking to ourselves and others, instead of blaming and punishing ourselves. Indeed, this is about being mindful of the thoughts you have and how those thoughts can manifest outwardly. After a retrograde season of balancing our hearts and our minds, the full moon in Libra welcomes a powerful click into place. The truth will be revealed, remember. As if any cognitive dissonance we struggled with is suddenly gonna fade away. Because we can see the truth. We accept things for how they really are, not for how we idealize them to be. Okay, so with the astrology all being explained, let's now get onto your horoscopes. Thank you so much for watching. All right, so first up, Aries. Aries, the full moon will take place in your 7th house. So I think that you are going to restore some balance in your life with respect to one-to-one relationships. For example, this could be about moving forward when it comes to a relationship. This could be about moving on and seeing which kinds of relationships no longer align with you anymore, and seeing in which ways you have outgrown particular relationships. Of course, when we think about relationships, this could be regarding, it could be a spouse, it could be a committed partner, it could be a close friend, a relative. And at the same time, I think that a big part of your growth is tied to yourself. So maybe having to make peace with a particular relationship, a union, so that you can feel more at peace within. And so that you can put yourself first, perhaps making yourself a priority, right? To think about how Chiron is also in your sign. And then equally, I think that energetically, a lot of stuff to do with the past could come through. Maybe some self-doubt could creep in, or perhaps it's just having to regulate your emotions when you feel emotionally charged. Plus, we want to think about this socially. For instance, socially speaking, this could be you taking some time behind the scenes, just some time to yourself. All in all, I think, Aries, it's really about giving yourself that time to feel through this intense new step, this intense new chapter of your life regarding partnerships, regarding one-to-one relationships. Thank you so much, Aries. And now on to Taurus. So Taurus, whenever we consider this full moon, it will happen in your 6th house. Therefore, I'm thinking to myself, When it comes to restoring balance, this could be regarding the workload. This could be regarding your productivity levels, how much you take on. But actually, this could be about how much you physically can't take on, and having to be pretty firm and pretty direct with others about your own space, about your needs. I think this is a good time for self-exploration behind the scenes. And it's also about your own personal recovery, your own personal healing behind the scenes. Just seeing where you're not aligned anymore, having to make adjustments, having to reposition yourself, having to reprioritize basically here, Taurus, when it comes to the day-to-day. And that could very well involve a lot of spiritual work, and you may know a thing or two about the amount of spiritual work you've been doing over all these years, or throughout all of these years. And then the other thing about this is we want to be maybe mindful about how you speak to yourself, any aggressive tendencies there, or the inner bully, the inner critic that might try to interfere. Hey, this could even be about having to explore past conversations and discussions so that you feel more healthy, more secure within yourself. And this could also be, of course, regarding maybe having to address sibling situations, cousin situations. We think about your immediate family in this regard. So could it be suggested here, Taurus, that you're having to maybe have difficult conversations with certain family members about how much you're taking on, for instance, especially if it is, Taurus, so you've been noticing negative impacts to your health. And then I'm also going to say here, just socially speaking, perhaps this is still about you slowly, gradually coming to terms with friendships, coming to terms with certain group members, team members, that you're making peace, you're making peace with those connections, you're making peace with those relationships, and you're trying to even make sense of them spiritually, perhaps even having to see who you've outgrown, spiritually speaking, socially speaking. Take your time, Taurus, though I don't need to tell you that twice. But thank you so much. And Gemini, moving on to you. So Gemini, the full moon will happen, of course, in your 5th house of romance and love and play, entertainment, enjoyment, all the fun things. But you see, the ways in which you're going to restore some balance then, I think, is when it comes to these very areas. So considering what brings you joy, what do you love to do? What are your hobbies? What are your interests, your passions? Maybe you're going to seek more of those things. Or it's that you're going to make a few adjustments. There's going to be a release, a letting go. And I also think that a part of this stuff is tied to how much you've been doing within the collective, how much you've been doing out there within groups and teams and communities, just being seen largely by audiences, by your followers, by your subscribers, so on and so forth. And hey, this could also be massively tied in with your own personal healing, what it is that you need so that you feel more supported energetically. Yeah, what I'm getting from this is perhaps having to put yourself first, or make yourself a bit of a priority so that you don't, for example, burn yourself out. And we also notice here that, of course, Mars is in the 2nd house still, Venus is in your 10th house. Therefore, energetically speaking, I think a part of this full moon is about how it is that you earn money, how it is that you budget, save, spend it, etc. And also to think about what it is that you need so that you feel more secure. There could be a few adjustments that are to be made when it comes to your finances, basically. And maybe it's those kinds of adjustments that can support you or help you make more time for time off, or spending more time just having fun, doing the things that are more playful and not so work focused. But then this is where even Venus, still in your 10th house, of course, Venus will turn direct not too long after the full moon. So I do think perhaps this is about you coming to terms with, well, the long term, longevity, planning for the future. A lot of this stuff is about your future, Gemini. So we're going to see you continue to make a few adjustments. Thank you, Gemini. And now on to Cancer. So, Cancer, the full moon will happen in your fourth house of family and also your emotional wellness, your emotional well being. So, therefore, we could look at this full moon in terms of, okay, let's restore the balance when it comes to your emotional needs, when it comes to your emotional attachments. Could be a big realization about the past, about family, about who you are connected to strongly. This could be about making a few adjustments within the home so that you feel more aligned and more secure within yourself, so that you feel more emotionally settled and safe. And of course, so we've got the Sun and Chiron still in the 10th. Yeah, this is also tied in with how much you're doing out there in the world, Cancer. And maybe this is a part of your growth. So, seeing, for example, okay, what is it about the home that feels not so aligned? And is there something that you would like to shift or change so that there is greater balance within the home? And maybe it's those kinds of conversations or experiences that are linked in with your career, right? With your professional life, with things that you're trying to achieve out there in the world. Heck, maybe this is even about coming to terms with self-doubt or self-sabotage tendencies when it comes to how you show up professionally, Cancer. And equally, we do notice that with Mars still being in your sign, it's been there for a long time. Energetically, I'm thinking to myself, maybe you're just at this point where you're ready to move forward with Mars no longer in your sign. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I just want a change of scenery, right? I want a fresh atmosphere. I want to be able to move forward with my life and not feel like I keep getting pulled back into the same themes and patterns. And things will change, of course, but I do think energetically speaking, it's important then to maybe rest, feel, relax when you can. And perhaps as well, this is about seeing what you've explored protection wise with respect to your aims and your goals. I'm getting from this that you are at a point where you're finally ready to move forward, and you don't want to repeat the same patterns, the same habits, outgrowing a cycle. And then equally, with Venus still being in your 9th house, we're seeing here perhaps you exploring themes of self-compassion with respect to your beliefs, thinking about your message. What is your message? What are you trying to convey to the world? And how does that even show up more spiritually speaking? And how does it even show up poetically speaking? Yes, I think this is good to look at a few readjustments and changes that you want to create so that you communicate from a place of greater understanding. So thinking really about your overall bigger message here, Cancer. Thank you so much, Cancer. And now on to Leo. So Leo, the full moon will happen in your 3rd house. So when we think about restoring some balance, perhaps this balance shows up more so when it comes to everyday conversations, chit chats, how you even share information on social media, thinking about your phone usage, your social media usage, the amount of time you spend online, that could be a thing. This could also be about maybe coming to terms with certain connections, relationships with peers, with classmates, with your siblings, with cousins, people within your immediate environment, really. So yeah, thinking about local communities, local people, your neighborhood, things like that. So yes, we could see this as a letting go, a shift when it comes to those very relationships, but perhaps a part of that shift is also tied in with your own philosophical views, what your beliefs are, seeing maybe the kinds of conversations you've outgrown, and maybe as well making peace with more of a local environment situation, and then seeing bigger things ahead, or seeing that there is a bigger story that is to unfold, and that within itself is a part of your own healing journey and what you need at this time. Plus, of course, Mars is still in your 12th, Venus in the 8th around this time. Leo, I think it's important for you to really be kind to yourself, to go easy on yourself, to recognize that you're not gonna just rush to the finish line, when it comes to these bigger ideas that you have and these bigger projects. Maybe, this could be about some new role, some new title that you just wanna jump into. But equally, I just think energetically speaking, it's about trying to slow it down, regulate, calming yourself, regulating your nervous system. And then that's the thing. I think from that place, the messages will be a lot clearer, and then you'll know what the next step is for yourself. Thank you so much, Leo. And now on to Virgo. So Virgo, the full moon will happen in your second house. So when we think about restoring the balance for you, this of course could be about your finances, your earnings. Maybe this could, for example, be a time of relief where you consider, oh my goodness, finally things are starting to turn, maybe financially speaking. Or hey, this could also be about how it is that you actually earn money, and maybe certain changes that you're wanting to make when it comes to your earnings, when it comes to your income. So there could be a release, there could be a letting go, something that becomes quite clear and obvious about the next step. And then simultaneously, naturally, this is also about, well, the intensity of your emotions and just trusting that the tides will change and you're not going to feel this way forever. I mean, with Chiron traveling through your 8th house, I'm thinking to myself about the Virgo story and all of the wounds and all of the really soft spots, having to dig into those areas. Indeed, this is also a full moon of healing and insight and transformation, right? Transformation and renewal, and seeing what you've outgrown energetically speaking, who you've outgrown energetically speaking. And this within itself leads me on to how Mars and Venus, right, they're in the 11th and 7th houses. Indeed, this could very well be about you outgrowing relationships, friendships. This could be about a grieving process that you're experiencing. Loss naturally could be a part of this. And just that tenderness and the ability to give yourself permission to feel and process and not feel like you have to overcommit or feel like you have to be there for everybody all the time. This is really about your own personal healing story, Virgo. Thank you so much, Virgo. And now on to Libra. So Libra, the full moon will happen in your sign. So happy full moon to you. Right, this full moon then is very personal. We're really thinking about restoring balance, and this balance is related to your sense of self. It's related to your personal direction. It's related to your aims, your goals, your appearance. Maybe there is some kind of realization or transformation related to your self-image, or it could be that you let go of a goal that you thought you wanted, but it no longer aligns with you. Or it could simply be that you've outgrown a particular path that no longer aligns. And then you see, what we also notice is that some healing is occurring with relation to one-to-one relationships. I mean, this could even be about clients and customers and recognizing what you want from those partnerships, from those relationships. This could even be related to collaborations that you feel a little self-doubt about, but in actuality, this is about facing the truth. This is about being quite brave and quite, assertive about the next step. And maybe as well, there is a painful situation. Okay, there could be a painful situation with relation to a relationship. For example, the end of a particular relationship, and that's quite sore. Plus, we also notice how this full moon invites you to energetically be mindful of what you want career-wise, what you want professional-wise. Perhaps with Mars being in your 10th house for the longest time, you're coming to this end point where you're thinking, okay, well, what is the next step for me when it comes to long-term achievements and goals? And how can I be protective of those? Or what is it that I've maybe outgrown with relation to those areas? Plus, with Venus, of course, Venus is your ruler. Venus is still hanging out in your 6th. And so you are going to continue to tie up a few loose ends regarding your productivity levels, your stress levels, how much you're taking on, having to reprioritize all of the daily stuff, maybe having to revisit particular routines and schedules is what was really involved there. And so you are at a point where energetically you need to let go, or you need to make peace with particular routines. It definitely requires adjustments, and I think you know more than most a thing or two of how to weigh out your options, how to weigh the pros versus the cons. Thank you so much, Libra. And now on to Scorpio. So Scorpio, this full moon will happen in your 12th house. This one, I think with having a full moon in the 12th, especially for you, it can feel pretty profound in that you're going to be confronted with a few lessons regarding your recovery, regarding any healing, and to think also that Chiron is still in your 6th house, the 6th house of health. What I'm really getting from this, Scorpio, is to be mindful of your health and what you need to support yourself mentally. Perhaps even this is about reaching out to the right kinds of people for support, or this could be about feeling like you're not being supported, you're not being cared for, and so there's a challenge present there. Plus, maybe this is about restoring balance, in that you will explore more of the spiritual side of things, your spiritual values, coming back to those, especially if it is that you feel like you haven't been so aligned, or you feel like just the chaos of life, the busyness of life has been all too much. Maybe there's something in this that says, come back to yourself. Then this within itself is about how you can make adjustments. Of course, Libra is certainly a sign of adjustment. So to think about what you put on so that you feel more balanced, or what you take off so you feel more balanced. A lot of this stuff then is happening behind the scenes, more in solitude, being in more of a cocooning phase. Plus, we also see with Venus and then Mars in the 5th and 9th houses, perhaps what we're really looking at here is your personal views, your personal beliefs about the world, about how you see things, and your personal messages. What is your message? What is it that you're trying to convey, you're trying to share, you're trying to teach others? So there could be some adjustments there present, and it's thinking about how those very teachings are linked in with your work. And then also we're thinking here about romantic relationships, and maybe this is where you're needing some space, or you're needing to go within to consider, okay, well, what does my lover, what does my significant other need from me? Or hey, this could also be related to what brings you joy, thinking about hobbies and fun, and how you entertain yourself, how you can spend some time off and not have to worry about work so much. Yes, be mindful then, be gentle with yourself. Heck, this could even be about children concerns coming up, Scorpio, to take a closer look at. But hey, still, I think this is about seeing that behind the scenes, you are making some significant decisions and changes. Thank you, Scorpio. Moving on to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, the full moon will happen in your 11th house. Well, we're certainly seeing here some letting go, some shedding, releasing tied to friendships, maybe a friendship coming to an end. It could also be a community situation or an ideology coming to an end. This then is about how you restore some balance. So maybe you're seeing what isn't so balanced, how you're not aligned with people. And then this is about seeing how you've outgrown particular community partnerships, relationships, and then seeing even who you do feel more aligned with, which kinds of people can you partner up with, who can you collaborate with, who do you feel, in some respects, I would say, recognized by. And then equally, I think this is where you're going to make a few significant changes and adjustments, just small, subtle perhaps. Then again, heck with Chiron opposite, there could be a few parts of this full moon that are painful. So I'm thinking about the inner child being hurt. I'm thinking about things from the past maybe coming through with relation to fun and play, childhood, especially because Venus is still in the 4th house area there. Mars is still in the 8th house area. We're seeing shedding, transformation, outgrowing people, but equally seeing how others have moved on. And then that within itself can bring up a lot of emotion from within you. I'm even thinking about particular family relationships that you've outgrown or that are challenging during this time. And then I'm also thinking about intimacy and trust and how perhaps you're trying to see who you can trust more closely. Yeah, there could be certain relationships right now that are quite tender. I'm especially thinking here about people that you were very, very close to. So that can be a lot to carry. So in this way, I would say, Sagittarius, for you, be kind to yourself. With Chiron in the 5th house, there could be some ego wounds that come through. It could be identity concerns. So your identity being shaken because of a painful situation with somebody else. Could even be worries, concerns about your children, about your romantic partner. Indeed, this is where it's important to be patient with yourself. It's a process. Thank you, Sagittarius. And now on to Capricorn. So Capricorn, the full moon will happen in your 10th house. So when we think about restoring some balance in your life, Capricorn, this is about success. It's about accomplishments, achievements. It's about your future. It's about your reputation as well. Maybe this is a full moon where you're going to take some of the pressure off, or you're going to try and see what you're not very much aligned with anymore career-wise. I'm thinking about your persona and how that is going to change. So in this regard, yes, your professional life changing for the better, hopefully. And then equally, I think a big part of why this is because of past situations, because of family relationships, because of loss, because of pain and hurt. We think about the wound stuff tied to Chiron in your 4th house. So making significant changes for your future, because in retrospect, you think, well, there has been a lot that has hurt me and I have felt a bit out of place, or like, where do I go from here in terms of family, in terms of my inner security? Yes, I guess in this way, some difficult decisions to make, but hopefully decisions that are for your own good. And then I also think that these decisions are tied in with one-to-one relationships. We think especially about business, right? Business could be a big part of this. Those business partnerships, collaborations. This could also be about your clients, your customers. What is your message there? How do you wish to succeed within those very areas? Or this is about how secure you feel within a one-to-one relationship, considering marriage, considering the very close bond that you have with your significant other. And then equally, I think a part of this is linked in with, well, what you value with respect to communication, with respect to conversations and how it is that you feel heard, how it is that you and another person can hold space for one another. Or this could be about how much time you spend on social media, or maybe a few adjustments that you want to make social media wise, presentation wise, so that you're not working as hard or having to do too much. This could be where you are making a few decisions about the workload and that perhaps you don't need to do as much as you think you need to do to be noticed, to be recognized. Thank you, Capricorn. And now on to Aquarius. So Aquarius, the full moon will happen in your 9th house. So when we think about restoring some balance, maybe this is about, could be travel, honestly. And I'm selfishly thinking about myself because my sun is in Aquarius. Indeed, this could be a full moon where there are realizations about travel and wanting to explore, wanting to see other destinations, other countries. Or this could be about reflecting upon where you want to move to, where you want to relocate to, but possibly in the future. Or hey, this could perhaps be about facing the truth of a situation when it comes to your worldviews, when it comes to what your opinions are about the world, your beliefs as well. Your philosophical views too could really come through here. Your teachings could also come through here, what you share with the world, what you broadcast, what you report, what you publish, etc. Indeed, this is where we're going to see you making a few major adjustments. And then equally with Chiron opposite, we think about your inner voice, we think about the inner critic, the inner bully, and challenging that. And we also think about how perhaps you're coming to terms with your own personal healing journey and how that's related to communication, how that's related to how you speak, how you share. Confidence is a big part of this, I think. Being confident about your personal message, your personal views as well. Plus, with Mars still in your 6th and Venus still in your 2nd house, we're also seeing how these adjustments that you're making around this time are somehow tied in with work, your productivity levels. They're tied in even with health, looking after yourself, your well-being, and then also considering your money situation. You've had this opportunity, Aquarius, to revisit your finances and your earnings, etc. So maybe this will be a full moon that presents some clarity or some reassurance about the next step, or a newfound vision or hope, or a new dream possibly. So we think about how this dream could be tied in with how you wish to earn money or what you want to spend your money on. Or heck, this could also be about your personal values and how those values are tied in with what it is that what you believe in spiritually speaking. There could be some kind of spiritual message that you really, really want to convey or get out there to the world. So indeed, this could be a full moon that welcomes some insight, some clarity about your meaning, your message. Thank you so much, Aquarius. And then lastly, Pisces. So Pisces, the full moon will happen in your 8th house. Restoring balance for you then, Pisces, I think shows up more so with respect to intimacy, trust, commitment, letting people in possibly. This could also be tied in with the paranormal, the occult, divination. So there could be some adjustments, some changes that you make around this time. And then equally, I think this is also tied in with your personal values, what it is that you value about yourself. Heck, perhaps this is about a wound that resurfaces, a wound that is triggered, and that is enough within itself to make you go, no, I'm not dealing with this, I'm not putting up with this, I'm making a change, I'm transforming, I'm moving on with my life, I'm going to go through this renewal whether I like it or not. I mean, this could be a really heavy thing. I'm thinking about a relationship that just no longer is good for you. It could be a marriage that you are you're finally ready to end. It's just an example. Or it could be a mental health, a psychological situation that is really, really trying to push through, so to speak, to get you to listen, so that there is a change, so that you feel more balanced, so that you feel more harmonized. I'm kind of thinking to myself, is this stuff tied in with romance, love, relationships, because Mars is in your fifth? And then is it also tied in with what it is that you need, right? With Venus being in your first house of self. Yes, this is a full moon that could be quite confronting, Pisces, honestly. It could make you face the truth of a situation that you have outgrown, but that situation is quite deep, it's quite intimate, it's perhaps quite intense. Maybe it does require a lot of healing and having to process and having to just be slow instead of trying to rush to the finish line. Heck, you know what? Could even be about a new chapter that you really, really want to embark on, you want to try, but you're so limited, you're blocked by, could be somebody else's opinion. It could be a certain partner that doesn't agree. And so you're having to have these more difficult conversations about that decision. Because this is where relationships and partnership really comes into it. Thank you, Pisces. But this has been your horoscopes for this full moon in Libra, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video has prepared you for the full moon in Libra. And if you find this video to be helpful, you can always buy me a coffee. But hey, good luck, everyone. Yes, try to just use the full moon as an opportunity to find more balance after such an intense eclipse season, retrograde season. Stay tuned for more, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!